What's my SatAttack squad? What's SatAttack one? Y'all see that title, man? We got 3 scary true bowling horror stories by Mr. Nightmare, man. This is the latest video he dropped, so we're gonna check this out. He dropped this 7 days ago, so he's probably on the verge of dropping another one. But we're gonna check this out, man. Road to 2K, help brother, we're going stupid guy dummy. But check, I'm over here stuttering. But check out the channel, man. Subscribe button. But let's get into it. 3 bowling horror stories. Let me guess, these boys were bowling at night.
I used to go bowling quite often with my friends when I was young. I'm talking like 12, 13. There was a bowling alley down the block from my friends and I, and so we'd go there on weekends.
Okay.
The bowling alley has been closed for years, but when it was open, it was super cheap and affordable. Perfect for a bunch of young teenagers who...
Hey, I love bowling, bro. One thing, I love bowling. People don't like bowling as much as I do. I don't know why, but bowling is fun though. To me,
money of their own. This one weekend, I went with my friends Jacob, Josh, and Mikey to the bowling alley. We always went at night. It was likely around...
I expect all 3 of these stories to be at night, bro.
...to 8 p.m. The bowling alley was always crowded on the weekends.
Yeah,
sometimes we'd see familiar faces.
Makes sense.
There was this older man who would sometimes be there alone, bowling on the adult side of the bowling alley where alcohol was served. We always played on the non-alcoholic side.
Okay.
How we took notice to that man was because he'd sometimes just weirdly walk down the entire bowling alley, passing every lane, watching people bowling. Then we'd notice him end up back at his lane all by himself.
By himself, kind of weird.
Bob after
like walking, checking everyone out, and going back to your shit by yourself, kind of.
Maybe the 3rd time seeing him. Tonight there was a lane open next to us, and guess who out of nowhere sat next to us? Bob, or whatever his real name was, but I'll keep referring to him as Bob. He was setting up a game on the lane next to us by himself, and it wasn't long until he started trying to talk to us. He started making comments on our form, and every so often interrupting our conversation to tell us weird things like how long he's been coming here. Then eventually he said something really weird, that he watches us play every weekend from across the bowling alley, and he decided to come over and introduce himself tonight.
Oh hell, I'm sorry to keep pausing, keep going. Hell,
he played it off like he was trying to be some kind of bowling teacher to us, but really it was just annoying and most of all uncomfortable. Bob at one point entered our lane as I was up to bowl, and he grabbed my wrist with his hands to position me into an allegedly better form.
Hey yo, stop touching me. He's probably one of those, I'm not even trying to
I never gave him permission to touch me, nor did I ask for his guidance. We were only like 13 though. None of us stood up and said, yo, get lost or something like that. I could just feel the unease amongst my friends. Every moment of that man touching me, I felt more and more disgusted. We cut our night at the bowling alley short because of him. We used the money that we would have used on more games on getting pizza instead at a pizza place further up the block.
He's gonna walk in, or they're gonna see him outside.
Jacob and Mikey went their own way since they lived on a different block. Josh and I walked back down the other way in the direction
at least you were someone. I thought it was just gonna be him.
Our houses.
Good shit.
As we did, the sound of a car engine starting made us turn around.
Y'all need a ride.
We noticed an old SUV like a Ford Explorer banging a 3-point turn. We both imagined the possibility of it being Creeper Bob. The SUV started slowly tailing us as we walked down the street, so we picked up our pace. Then the SUV pulled up right alongside us, and the window rolled down. It was in fact the man from the bowling alley. He said out the window that he could offer us a ride home. We said no thanks. He replied it's not safe for a couple kids to be walking around late at night. We weren't even really that young. We were young teenagers, not little kids. And it was crazy that he thought we were young enough to trick into getting into a car.
Smart.
When we made it clear we weren't getting in, he pulled to the side of the road and parked his car. Josh and I decided to start jogging home. When we reached the intersection where we'd split off, we said bye and I continued jogging home.
Oh damn, bro, that's like a scary. I'm sorry for keep pausing, but that's like a scary movie, bro. Y'all split off. I know it makes sense because they gotta go to each other's houses, but it's like you split off, and the dude that's chasing you is gonna choose. Oh, hell no.
By the time I made it back, I was out of breath. Running after eating pizza is not a good idea. My dad was already asleep because he worked weekends. My mom was out with her girlfriends most likely, and the same was probably the case with my sister. So I wasn't supposed to ring the bell because my dad didn't want to be woken up. I went around back to get the key we had for the back door, which was hidden in the shed.
Comes back.
When I got out from the shed, I thought I heard something, and I should have listened to my gut. I went to the back door to unlock it, and as I opened the door, I heard the sound of someone running up behind me. Before I could fully turn around, someone pushed me inside the house, covering my mouth and wrapping their arm around my neck. I wasn't able to see who it was because I couldn't turn my head.
Creeper Bob.
I scratched and clawed at the man's hand until I could move my mouth
just
enough out of the grip of his hand and scream, "Dad." I may have only been 13, but I was able to put up enough of a fight to get him to lose his grip a few times, allowing me to scream. This undoubtedly scared him off as he finally let go for good and ran outside. I didn't look back. I ran up the half flight of stairs to the main floor and
you gotta look back and see if it's Creeper Bob, bro. Like,
yelled for my dad. My dad came rushing out of his room, and after telling him what just happened, he checked the backyard and all around the property and then came back inside. I told him about the man from the bowling alley, how we nicknamed him Creeper Bob, how he followed Josh and I in his SUV.
That's the last time y'all going out late that night, late on weekends.
After admitting to stalking us at the bowling alley, my dad filed a police
The
report
curfew
and
gonna be
tried
8
getting the
o'clock
bowling
now.
alley to release the video surveillance from that night, but they refused. I was
Wow.
never allowed to go back there after my mom found out about this.
Yeah, that makes
Not
sense.
that I'd ever want to. The crazy thing is, technically, I can't say with 100% certainty that the man who came in behind me and grabbed me was the man from the bowling alley. But realistically,
That's crazy.
how slim are the chances that it wasn't him?
That's crazy. That's crazy. Like I told you, y'all split off. He's gonna chase one of y'all. That dude said, "I've been watching now for a couple
When
weeks."
I was a
now."
teenager, my close group of friends were, I guess, what you'd call delinquents. We liked causing trouble, breaking rules, and messing around in places we didn't belong. I grew up in a suburb in northern New Jersey, so I guess you could say we were just spoiled kids with nothing better to do. Looking back, the way we passed the time was a little silly, but there's nothing I can do about that now. Anyway, one of the things we really like to do
said, leave the past in the past. No point in dwelling.
is to go exploring in the late hours of the night. Usually we explored abandoned buildings, but not always. We actually got banned from our middle school after jumping through an open window, but that's a story for another time. This particular night, we were planning on executing a riskier task. There were 5 of us: me, Chip, Jason, Rowan, and Anish. Rowan had a tendency to bounce around from job to job, which was kind of a running joke in our squad. He'd lose jobs as quickly as he'd get them, usually for the dumbest reasons you can imagine. He had just picked up a gig as an attendant at a bowling alley a few towns over from us. I'm sure you could see where this is going. He had been entrusted the key to close up the place the night before. Anish was a master of persuasion, and he somehow convinced Rowan to let us explore the bowling alley at like 3 a.m. I'm telling you, Anish could convince someone to give them their kidney. That's how persistent he was. I haven't heard from him in a while. I think he might actually be in jail right now. Anyway, the 5 of us agreed to get a little
crimes together and not be that close. Like,
before going. We all had a substantial amount to drink except for Jason, who refused to go anywhere unless he was the one driving. His dad had a really nice BMW, and Jason liked being able to end our links when he got tired. After getting a little buzzed, James drove the 5 of us to the location. I was the heavy drinker of the squad. It's not something I'm proud of, but it's just who I was at that point in my life. Because of this, I usually took things a little less seriously than I should.
Creepy bowling alley right here.
Especially when it came to dangerous or risky situations. Rowan unlocked the door, and the 5 of us made our way inside. Chip was usually the most cautious, and he kept chiding us to be careful in his hilariously high-pitched voice. Rowan told us we couldn't actually do any bowling right now, which we were all a little upset about. I had the genius idea of doing some makeshift sliding on the lanes as if they were slip and slides. Since we were drunk, this was actually pretty fun. The 5 of us soon tired ourselves out and decided we wanted to do some exploring. We asked Rowan if there were any back rooms we could check out, and he told us there were. We made our way into the employee-only area, and Rowan led us to some kind of storage room. We started poking around and flipping things over, just being stupid and careless. We figured Rowan was going to get fired anyway, so we weren't too concerned with messing things up. As we started getting bored, we heard a deafening bump from below us.
Oh.
The five of us froze, staring at each other. Jason, the only sober one in the group, asked if the place had a basement. Rowan looked just as shocked as we were and told that he had no prior knowledge of a potential basement. Anish grinned, eager to continue exploring. Chip seemed really nervous, telling us that we were probably going to end up getting Rowan fired.
Bro, that's probably the least of y'all worries, bro. What?
We were whispering now, arguing whether we wanted to go look for this hypothetical basement.
Oh, hell no. Y'all heard a thump? And y'all gonna go look for this? Bro, what is this, a horror movie? Y'all heard a thump under y'all, and y'all gonna say, should we go check what it is? Bro, that's y'all signal to leave, bro. What is y'all doing?
Just then, Jason lifted the edge of a rug nestled in the corner, revealing a hatch. We were shocked. The atmosphere in the room instantly shifted.
Who did that, Jason? The sober one?
Just then, Jason lifted the edge of a rug nestled in the corner, revealing a hatch.
But you're sober. You should have been against trying to look for this.
We were shocked. The atmosphere in the room instantly shifted with the realization that the situation was now serious. Even if we had found the way into the basement, the sound we heard was still unexplained.
Exactly.
I don't think any of us really wanted to go down there, but Jason made the first move in his classic level-headed style. He flung the latch open and stared down at the old, rusted ladder leading into the darkness.
Jason, you're the sober one? Hey, yo. Yeah, he's not driving us home, bro. He's the designated, bro. Where's the, bro? So you're the sober one. I said, let's go, bro.
Screw
it's a horror
this,
movie waiting to happen.
Motioning for us to leave. Jason ignored him and went for the stairs. He pulled out his phone and shined the flashlight into the blackness. Without another word, he descended into the abyss. I could tell Rowan, Anish, and Chip were a little scared, understandably. I still had a lot of liquid confidence, so I decided I'd go next. Anish followed behind me, and Rowan brought up the rear. Chip refused to come down with us. The four of us pulled out our phone flashlights and began exploring the basement that had been hidden for some reason. It was filled with dust and cardboard boxes, stacked up to the ceiling. There was nothing else down there, or at least that's what we originally thought. Anish noticed a door in the corner, and we walked over to it. Jason put his hand on the handle, but a split second before he was going to open it, we heard a distinctive bump come from the other side, which sounded identical to the one we heard earlier. We looked around at each other, with horrified looks on our faces. I could tell we were all thinking the same thing. An animal, maybe? No shot, it was too loud to be an animal.
That's your initial thought, bro? Was it an animal, bro? Why are y'all not leaving? Y'all shouldn't even be there. Like, why are...
I was pretty freaked out at this point and turned away to leave. Like an idiot, Jason cracked the door open, revealing another storage room. That's not all that was in there, though. In the corner of the room, there was a human figure sitting on the ground with its legs crossed, facing away from us. We were frozen in place, utterly terrified. After a full minute of stagnance, the person in the corner of the room banged their head against the wall, explaining the sounds we had been hearing. I began tiptoeing to the ladder, careful not to make any noise. The rest of my friends turned around and began doing the same, clearly filled with terror. Just then, Rowan tripped on a piece of junk on the floor and then cursed.
Rowan, are you? Bro, he's the person that always trips when there's a horror person chasing him, bro. Bro.
The person in the room yelled and we ran. Jason and I were up the ladder in a split second, with Anish close behind. Chip was leaned over the hatch, concerned with what he was hearing. Anish made it up, and the three of us ran out of the room. We heard Rowan scream, "Get off me," but Anish and Jason were too terrified to turn back. I ran back into the room and saw Chip chucking a metal pipe down the hatch, which was followed by a demonic scream. Rowan scrambled on the ladder, and Chip grabbed his wrist, yanking him up. Rowan ran toward me while Chip slammed the hatch shut. The five of us sprinted out of the bowling alley, and Rowan hastily locked the door with trembling hands. Jason drove us back with a blank look on his face. We listened as Rowan described what happened after the rest of us made it up the ladder. Apparently, whoever had been in the basement jumped on Rowan's back, clawing at him. Chip came to his rescue and nailed Rowan's attacker in the head with that pipe.
Hey, Chip's the realest one, bro. First, he didn't want to go down there, which was smart, and he didn't, which was smart. Hey, Chip, you smart, my boy. Everyone else in that crew is not smart, bro. Low IQ. Like, why would y'all go down there? But at least y'all survived. Y'all got a story to tell. But Chip saved y'all, saved the person. Like, y'all two was with him, and y'all couldn't even make sure all three y'all got up. Chip had to come
backward. Rowan said he only saw the guy's face for a split second. It was the horrifying face of a dirty, old, homeless-looking guy with a bird's nest of hair on his head. Rowan ended up quitting the next day without giving his boss an explanation, as it was definitely illegal what we had done. To this day, we have no idea how that guy could have gotten down there. Maybe there was an alternate entrance we had overlooked. Either way, the basement had been intentionally hidden, which tells me that Rowan's boss might have known something about the whole thing. This experience ruined my taste for bowling, which I have not done since.
How do y'all correlate that with bowling? What does a bowling have to do with that? Could be under any... Bro, come on, bro. What does bowling have to do with that? Like, why y'all hating on bowling for that? But... I wonder what that do with.
One night, my girlfriend Rebecca and I decided it would be fun to go bowling. We drove to the closest bowling alley and went through the whole process of renting shoes, finding balls, and picking a lane.
Picking balls?
We both were really bad. Neither of us had been bowling in many years. We paid for an hour of bowling. Rebecca wasn't really enjoying it too much because she kept getting gutter balls. I was doing better than her, but not by much, so I wasn't really able to help her out much. And then to make matters even worse, Rebecca's ex-boyfriend arrived with his group of friends and they started bowling a few lanes down from us. Rebecca looked away, refusing to even look in that direction,
that's why she
whispering at me that we need to leave now. We packed it up early and left. She went to the car and waited while I returned the shoes. I think her ex spotted me while I was at the front counter, and I looked away. I didn't tell Rebecca this, though. We went home and agreed to play Wii bowling instead and have some wine. That sounded much more fun anyway. When we got home, the first thing I did was turn on the Wii and open a bottle of wine. The bowling alley trip was a failure, but I didn't want Rebecca to be unhappy. We played Wii bowling for like half an hour with music on in the background and drinking wine. It turned out to be much more fun than the bowling alley, until the current song that was playing ended, and we heard something come from upstairs in that brief moment of silence. Rebecca and I looked at each other, telling me she heard it too. I turned off the music for good, but now there was just silence. The sound we heard could best be described as a heavy object being dropped on the floor. I went upstairs to investigate. I checked every bedroom with the lights on. I checked under every bed. I was relieved to find nothing. I wasn't actually
Nah, you can't ignore that, bro. That would creep me the out if I heard something like that.
expecting to find someone in the house.
So you gotta have a weapon.
But naturally, you do need to go investigate if you hear a suspicious sound in your house. Still, I wondered what actually made the sound,
so you gotta have a weapon.
I didn't find anything on the floor. After maybe another half an hour of playing Wii bowling, we brought our little wine party upstairs to the bedroom, and eventually we fell asleep. Rebecca's a lightweight, so she got much drunker than me, which explains why I was the one to wake up in the middle of the night and not her. I heard what woke me up though. It was another clear and distinct sound of something heavy being dropped from above. But the only thing is, now we were upstairs, and yet the sound still came from above. So what else would be above us? The attic. The attic door is right outside my bedroom door. It's one of those doors with a string that you pull down and a metal ladder comes down. I tiptoed out of the bedroom to not wake up Rebecca. I stood under the attic door and listened. Every 5 seconds or so, I heard the slightest creaking sound, like from the weight of something moving around. I didn't want to scare Rebecca, but I'd heard of animals getting into people's attics sometimes.
If I heard that, I would not be thinking it's an animal.
I went to get a broom from the closet to use as a possible weapon.
A broom, my boy? That's the best weapon you got? You gotta have something. You gotta have a bat or something. A little broom? bro.
weapon if I were to have to fend off an animal.
It's not an animal.
Then I quietly pulled the attic door open and climbed up. I stopped at the top of the ladder in the darkness and listened. I heard creaking. It was the creaking of the wooden rocking chair we had up there. I used my phone as a light to reveal the rocking chair. There was someone sitting in it, slowly rocking. I nearly fell off the ladder. I wanted to go run back to Rebecca and hide. I wanted to do it.
I feel it though, but you're the man of the house, my boy. You can't, hey, makes sense. What is going on? What does it have to do with bowling? But like, dude in the attic?
Anything but approach this person. But I gathered the courage to yell, "Who are you?" The rocking stopped, and the man turned around to look at me. He started making this animalistic, gargling, growling sound. Then he got up, and that's when I hurried down the ladder and pushed the attic door up. I screamed for Rebecca to call the cops until I heard her acknowledge me. I stayed under the attic door, preventing it from being opened as the man in the attic tried kicking the door open. He eventually stopped, and I heard the deranged laughter of a sick, mentally ill person. He spoke in another language. It sounded Russian. I felt like my arms were going to fall off, holding up the attic door, waiting for the police. When they finally arrived, Rebecca went downstairs to let them in. From here, it was the job of the police officers to go up there and remove the man. Rebecca and I waited in the living room, sitting on the couch next to each other, until we saw them bringing the man out through the living room to the front door in handcuffs. The way the man looked at me said everything. He was a dangerous, mentally ill person. His stare was full of hatred and craziness, with a hint of confusion. His lip contorted in this bizarre way that would almost make you think he were drunk. Whatever happened with him, we don't know. We didn't press civil charges, but I'm sure he was charged criminally if they didn't deem him to be insane. This happened in the summertime when we keep the windows open, and so it was most likely that he squeezed through one of the windows in the backyard. I'm not sure why he picked our house. We may just have been the unlucky house he stumbled across.
Yeah, do not leave the window ever open when you're not in the house. That don't even make no sense. Gotta close all your windows, lock all the doors, and why would y'all leave it open? That's probably why they picked your house. Talking about bad luck or whatever. No, they picked y'all he picked y'all because y'all door is probably open, your window is open. Everyone else probably windows closed, whatever. Wow, that was a good episode. I ain't gonna lie, that shit had me a little freaked out. But road to 2K, hell, bro, we're going stupid, going down, but we out your mind.